This will be mini-series of employee stories who worked at gas station at Route 66. I will tell them until workers run out of stories or until they mysteriously disappear. Enjoy. I've been pulling the night shift at this rundown gas station off Route 66 for longer than I care to remember. It's the kind of place where the fluorescent lights buzz like angry hornets, and the pumps stand like silent sentinels under the vast, empty sky. Most nights it's just me, the hum of the cooler stocked with warm beer, and the occasional trucker rolling through for a fill-up and a smoke. But lately the customers, they're not right. Not like the ones from before, when things first started going wrong. I thought those earlier incidents were flukes, isolated nightmares that I could bury in the back of my mind. Like that traveler who came in months ago, his skin peeling off in wet sheets as he begged for water, or the family whose eyes glowed in the dark, whispering about the road devouring their souls. I told myself it was the isolation playing tricks, the endless stretch of highway messing with my head. But deep down, I knew better. Route 66 has a hunger, and it's been feeding on us all. Tonight started like any other. I clocked in just as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the desert in blood-red streaks. The day guy handed over the keys with his usual grunt, muttering about low stock on cigarettes before vanishing into the dusk. I settled behind the counter, flipping through a crumpled magazine to kill time. The station sits on a lonely patch of asphalt, miles from the nearest town, surrounded by scrub brush and coyote howls. No security cameras that work, no panic button worth a damn. Just me and whatever decides to pull up. The first hour dragged on in silence. I restocked the candy bars, wiped down the coffee machine that always reeks of burnt grounds, and stared out the grimy windows at the pumps. Headlights would flicker in the distance now and then, but they'd pass by, engines roaring into the night. I almost wished for company, even if it meant dealing with the drunks or the wanderers. But then, around what felt like midnight, though I don't keep track anymore, a set of lights pierced the darkness, growing brighter until a battered old pickup truck rattled into the lot. It stopped at pump 3, engine coughing like it had tuberculosis. The driver didn't get out right away. I watched from inside, heart picking up a notch for no good reason. Something about the way the truck sat there, idling unevenly, made my skin crawl. Finally, the door creaked open and out stepped a man. Average build, flannel shirt tucked into jeans, boots caked in dust. He looked normal at first glance, but as he approached the door, I noticed the way he moved. Like his joints weren't quite aligned, each step a jerky imitation of walking. He pushed through the door, the bell jingling too cheerfully for the tension in the air. Up close, his face was wrong. His skin hung loose, like it was a size too big, sagging around the cheeks and neck. Eyes sunken deep, pupils dilated wide even under the harsh lights. He smiled, but it didn't reach those eyes. It was just a stretch of lips over yellowed teeth. "Evening," I said, forcing my voice steady. "What can I get you?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he wandered the aisles, fingers trailing over the chip bags and soda cans. His nails were long, cracked, with dirt, or maybe blood caked underneath. I kept my eyes on him through the security mirror, the one that's warped and makes everything look distorted. He picked up a pack of gum, turned it over in his hands, then put it back upside down. "Pump 3, he finally muttered, voice like gravel scraping over bone. He slapped a 20 on the counter. His hand lingered, and I saw the veins pulsing under the skin, thick and black, like worms burrowing through. I rang him up, sliding the change back. Our fingers brushed and his skin was cold, unnaturally so, like meat fresh from the freezer. "Anything else?" I asked, hoping he'd just leave. He leaned in closer, breath hot and foul, smelling of rot and something metallic. "You've seen them before, haven't you? The others like me." My stomach twisted. I thought of the previous nights, the stories I'd pieced together in my head. The woman who'd come in last summer, her belly swollen and writhing as if something alive was inside, clawing to get out. She'd bought a map and asked about the old mining towns off the route, her voice echoing like it came from underwater. Or the kid, God, the kid who'd wandered in alone, covered in what looked like oil but smelled like burnt flesh, babbling about his parents melting into the seats of their car. I'd called the cops that time, but by morning there was no trace, just scorch marks on the pavement. I don't know what you mean, I lied, but my voice cracked. He chuckled, a wet, gurgling sound. The road changes people, strips away the layers until what's left is honest. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, tarnished locket, clicked it open. Inside was a photo, faded and creased, of a woman smiling. But as I looked closer, her face in the picture shifted, eyes widening in terror, mouth opening in a silent scream. I backed up a step, bumping into the cigarette display. You need to go. But he didn't. Instead, he grabbed my wrist, grip like iron. His skin split open along the forearm, peeling back in ragged flaps to reveal muscle and tendon underneath, glistening wet. Blood, dark and thick, oozed out, dripping onto the counter. Feel it, he hissed. The road's pulse, it's in all of us now. I yanked away, but his flesh came with me, a strip of it tearing free like wet paper. It stuck to my hand, warm and pulsing faintly, as if still alive. He didn't flinch, didn't scream. Just watched me with those dead eyes, smiling wider now, teeth cracking as his jaw unhinged slightly. Panic surged through me. I grabbed the baseball bat from under the counter, the one I keep for robbers, though nothing like this. Get out, I shouted, swinging it wild. He laughed again, that horrible gurgle, and lunged forward. His other arm shot out, fingers elongating impossibly, nails scraping across my shirt, tearing fabric and skin. Blood welled up in shallow gashes on my chest, hot and stinging. I brought the bat down on his shoulder, heard a crack like breaking branches. But instead of bone, something squirmed under the flannel. Tendrils, black and slick, wriggling out from the wound. He staggered back, but not in pain. More like amusement. The tendrils lashed out, wrapping around a rack of snacks, crushing bags in their grip. Chips exploded in a shower of crumbs and salt. I swung again, aiming for his head. The bat connected with a sickening thud, caving in the side of his skull. Brain matter, gray and veined with those same black worms, splattered across the floor. He dropped to his knees, but his eyes stayed locked on mine, unblinking, even as fluid leaked from the crater. You can't stop it, he rasped, voice bubbling through the mess. The road, it's alive. It took my wife first, peeled her slow, layer by layer, until she was just screams echoing in the wind. I hit him again and again, until his body went limp, a heap of mangled flesh and twitching parts. Blood pooled around him, seeping into the cracks of the linoleum, staining it forever. But even then the tendrils kept moving, slithering toward me like they had a mind of their own. Panting, I dropped the bat, hands shaking. The bell jingled. Another customer? No, just the wind. But outside, the truck's headlights flickered on, engine revving without a driver. I barred the door, heart hammering, but I knew it wasn't over. Route 66 doesn't let go that easy. It's linked us all. The woman with the writhing belly, the melted family, this thing on my floor. And whatever comes next will be worse. I cleaned up as best I could, dragging the body out back to the dumpster. Its weight unnaturally heavy, skin sloughing off in my grip. Chunks of flesh stuck to my arms, warm and sticky, refusing to wash off in the sink. The mirror showed my reflection, pale and haunted, with those scratches on my chest already festering, edges turning black. As the night wore on, more headlights appeared on the horizon. Closer now. I wondered if they'd be like him or something new. The road whispers to me sometimes, promising more visitors, customers who aren't normal. And I'm starting to think I'm not either. The blood on my hands wouldn't come off, no matter how hard I scrubbed. The sink in the gas station's grimy bathroom gurgled, spitting up rust-colored water that smelled faintly of copper. My reflection in the cracked mirror looked like a ghost. Eyes hollow, skin pale. The scratches on my chest now weeping a thick black ooze that burned like acid. I'd wrapped the wounds in paper towels, but they soaked through, sticking to the raw flesh. Whatever that thing was, the man, if you could call him that, had left something behind. Not just the mess on the floor or the lingering stench of rot, but something inside me. I could feel it, a faint pulse under my skin, like a second heartbeat syncing with the hum of Route 66 outside. I dragged his body to the dumpster out back, its weight dragging my shoulders down, each step sinking into the gravel like the road was pulling me under. His flesh kept sloughing off, wet and heavy, leaving a trail of glistening bits that squirmed in the moonlight before sinking into the dirt. I didn't look too long. Didn't want to see if those tendrils were still moving. The dumpster lid slammed shut with a hollow clang, but it didn't feel final. Nothing ever does here. Back inside, I mopped up the blood and brain matter. The linoleum now stained a sickly brown. The bat lay in the corner, crusted with gore, and I didn't touch it again. The station felt smaller, the walls pressing in, the fluorescent lights flickering like they were mocking me. Outside, that damn pickup truck still sat at pump 3, engine silent now, headlights dark. I kept waiting for it to start up again, to roll forward without a driver, but it just sat there, a hulking shadow against the desert night. The road was quiet for a while, too quiet, the kind of silence that feels like it's holding its breath. I tried to distract myself, restocking the energy drinks, their neon labels glaring under the lights. But my hands shook and every creak of the building made me flinch. I kept thinking about what he'd said. The road changes people, strips away the layers. I'd heard whispers of that before, from other customers who'd passed through in the dead of night. Like the old trucker from a few months back, his face half melted like wax, muttering about how the highway eats what you love. Or the woman with the writhing belly, her skin stretched so thin you could see shapes moving beneath it, like hands pressing against a membrane. She'd laughed when I asked if she was okay, a sound like breaking glass, and said the road had chosen her. I didn't want to believe it then, but now I could feel it. The air was heavy, thick with something that wasn't just dust and gasoline fumes. It was the road itself, alive and watching, its pulse thrumming through the ground, up through my boots, into my bones. The scratches on my chest throbbed in time with it. The bell above the door jingled, snapping me out of my thoughts. My heart lurched as I spun around, expecting another nightmare. But it was just a woman, mid-30s maybe, with stringy blonde hair and a denim jacket that hung loose on her frame. She looked normal, or as normal as anyone gets out here. Her sneakers scuffed the floor as she wandered to the coffee machine, pouring a cup with hands that trembled slightly. "Rough night?" I asked, trying to sound casual, but my voice came out tight. She glanced over, eyes bloodshot but human, thank God. You could say that. Her voice was soft, almost drowned out by the buzz of the lights. She paid for the coffee and a pack of smokes, her fingers brushing mine as she handed over a crumpled 10. Her skin was warm, alive, nothing like the cold grip of the thing from earlier. But as she turned to leave, I noticed something. A faint scar on her neck, jagged and fresh, like something had clawed its way out. "You okay?" I called after her, my voice louder than I meant. She paused at the door, not turning around. "Stay off the road if you can," she said, barely above a whisper. "It's hungrier tonight." Before I could ask what she meant, she was gone. Her car, a beat-up sedan, kicking up dust as it peeled out of the lot. I watched her taillights fade into the dark, swallowed by the endless ribbon of Route 66. The road seemed to shimmer for a moment, like heat rising off asphalt. But it was too cold for that. Too wrong. I didn't have time to dwell on it. Another set of headlights appeared, closer this time, moving slow. A van, old and rusted, rolled up to pump 1. The engine cut off, but no one got out. I waited, gripping the counter, my chest burning where the scratches pulsed. The van's windows were tinted, black as oil, reflecting the station's lights back at me. I couldn't see inside, but I felt watched, like 1,000 eyes were boring into me from the darkness. The door finally opened and a figure stepped out. Tall, lanky, wearing a hooded jacket that hid their face. They didn't go for the pump. Instead, they walked straight to the station, moving with a fluid grace that made my skin prickle. The bell jingled as they pushed through the door, and the air turned sour like milk left out too long. Up close I could see their hands, pale, almost translucent, with veins that glowed faintly blue under the skin. They didn't speak, just stood there, head tilted slightly, like they were listening to something I couldn't hear. "Need gas?" I asked, my throat dry. They didn't answer. Instead, they reached into their jacket and pulled out a small glass vial, no bigger than a thumb. It was filled with a dark, viscous liquid that seemed to move on its own, swirling against the glass like it was alive. They set it on the counter, the clink loud in the silence. "What's this?" I asked, not touching it. Their voice was low, almost a hum vibrating in my chest. "For the road, it's thirsty." I stared at the vial, the liquid inside pulsing in time with the scratches on my chest. My hand twitched toward it, drawn by some instinct I couldn't explain. But before I could touch it, the figure leaned forward, hood falling back just enough to reveal their face, or what should have been a face. It was smooth, featureless, like melted plastic, with two dark hollows where eyes should have been. The hollows seemed to deepen as I looked, like tunnels stretching into nothing. I stumbled back, knocking over a display of energy drinks. Cans clattered to the floor, rolling in every direction. The figure didn't move, just stood there, vial gleaming on the counter. "Take it," they said, voice sharper now, cutting through the air like a blade. "You're already part of it." I grabbed the bat again, hands slick with sweat. "Get out," I growled, but it sounded weak, like I was begging. They didn't laugh, didn't lunge like the last one. They just turned and glided back to the door, leaving the vial behind. The bell jingled as they left, and the van roared to life, peeling out so fast it left skid marks on the asphalt. I stood there, heart pounding, staring at the vial. The liquid inside was still moving, curling like smoke, and for a moment, I swore I saw a face in it, mine, but twisted, mouth open in a scream. I locked the door, though I knew it wouldn't help. The road was out there, waiting, and it wasn't done with me. The scratches on my chest burned hotter, the black ooze spreading under the paper towels. I could feel it sinking deeper, rooting into me. The vial sat on the counter, untouched, but it felt like it was watching me, and in the distance more headlights flickered, closing in. The vial sat on the counter, its dark liquid swirling like a storm trapped in glass. Every time I glanced at it, my chest burned hotter, the scratches pulsing in sync with the faint hum of Route 66 outside. The black ooze had spread beneath the paper towels, staining my skin like ink, veins branching out like cracks in asphalt. I wanted to smash the vial, to hurl it into the desert and let the road have it, but my hands wouldn't move toward it. Something held me back, a whisper in my skull. Not words, but a feeling like the road was telling me to wait. I'd locked the door after the faceless thing left, but the station felt less like a refuge and more like a trap. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting shadows that moved when I wasn't looking. The air was thick, heavy with that sour milk stench, now mixed with something sharper like ozone before a storm. Outside, the van was gone, but the pickup truck from earlier still sat at Pump 3, its rusted frame gleaming under the moonlight like it was waiting for its driver to crawl back from the dumpster. I tried to focus, to keep busy. I swept the floor where the energy drinks had spilled, the aluminum cans dented and sticky, but every sound, the scrape of the broom, the buzz of the cooler, felt amplified, like the station itself was alive, listening. My reflection in the security mirror was worse now. The scratches weren't just festering, they were moving, the black veins crawling up toward my collarbone, pulsing with that same rhythm I felt in the ground. I tore off the paper towels, wincing as they peeled away skin, revealing raw, glistening flesh underneath. The wounds weren't bleeding anymore, just leaking that thick, black sludge, slow and deliberate, like it was alive. I was staring at my chest when the bell jingled. I froze. The door was locked. I'd checked it twice, but there it was again, that cheerful chime cutting through the silence. My head snapped up, and there she was. A girl, no older than 16, standing just inside the door. Her hair was matted, dark with grease, and her clothes hung off her like they belonged to someone else. A torn flannel shirt, jeans ripped at the knees. Her skin was pale, almost gray, and her eyes, God, her eyes were too big, too wet, like they were drowning in their own sockets. "How'd you get in?" I stammered, gripping the broom like a weapon. She didn't answer, just tilted her head, staring at me with those liquid eyes. Her lips parted, and I saw her teeth, small, sharp, too many, crowded together like they were fighting for space. She took a step forward barefoot, leaving damp footprints on the linoleum. They weren't water, they were red, thick, pooling behind her like she was bleeding out with every step. "Hey, stay back," I said, raising the broom. My voice shook and the scratches on my chest flared hot and tight like they were reacting to her. She stopped, cocking her head the other way like a bird sizing up prey. "You're new," she said, her voice high and brittle, like glass about to shatter. "But you're already marked." I glanced at my chest, the black veins now curling toward my neck. "What the hell are you talking about?" She smiled, and her mouth stretched too wide, splitting the corners of her lips until blood trickled down her chin. "The road. It likes you. It's keeping you." I thought of the others. The man with the peeling skin, the faceless thing with the vial. The woman with the writhing belly from months ago. All of them tied to this damn highway. All of them changed. I backed up, bumping into the counter. The vial was still there, the liquid inside churning faster now, like it was excited. "Get out," I said, but it came out more like a plea. She giggled, a sound that made my stomach twist. "Can't leave, neither can you." She stepped closer, her footprints leaving a trail of blood that didn't clot, didn't dry. It shimmered, reflecting the lights in a way that made my head hurt. "It's in you now, like it was in my brother." "Your brother?" I didn't want to ask, but the words slipped out. Her smile faded, and her eyes seemed to sink deeper into her skull. "He stopped here last year, bought a soda, never came home. The road took him piece by piece, first his skin, then his bones. I found what was left." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small cracked bone, polished smooth, like it had been handled too many times. It was stained with that same black ooze dripping from my chest. I gagged, the broom slipping from my hands. "What do you want from me?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the counter, her bloody footprints squelching, and picked up the vial. Her fingers left red smears on the glass, and the liquid inside boiled, bubbles rising like tiny screams. "This is for you," she said, holding it out. "Drink it and you'll see." "See what?" I snapped, but my voice was barely a whisper. "What the road wants." She stepped closer, too fast, her face inches from mine. Her breath smelled like damp earth and decay, and her eyes, those drowning eyes, seemed to pull me in, like I was falling into them. "It's already started. Look." She grabbed my arm, her grip cold and slick, and forced my hand to my chest. The scratches weren't just scratches anymore. The skin around them was splitting, peeling back in thin, wet strips, revealing muscle that pulsed with black veins. Something moved under the flesh, a ripple like a worm burrowing through. I screamed, yanking away, but the pain was blinding, like fire spreading through my ribs. She laughed, her mouth splitting wider, blood pouring down her neck now, staining her shirt. "You can't fight it," she said. "The road always wins." I lunged for the bat, the one still crusted with the last guy's brains, and swung it at her head. It connected with a sickening crunch, her skull caving in like a rotten pumpkin. Blood and bone sprayed across the counter, splattering the vial, but she didn't fall. She staggered, head lolling to one side, and kept laughing, a gurgling, wet sound. Her broken jaw hung loose, teeth clattering as she spoke. "You're part of it now." I hit her again, harder, and this time she collapsed, her body folding in on itself like a deflated balloon. But even as she lay there, blood pooling, her eyes stayed open, staring at me, unblinking. The bone she'd been holding rolled across the floor, stopping at my feet. It vibrated, humming with that same pulse I felt in my chest, in the road. I dropped the bat, gasping, my vision swimming. The vial was still on the counter, untouched by the chaos, the liquid inside now glowing faintly, like moonlight trapped in tar. I wanted to smash it, to burn the whole station down, but my body wouldn't listen. My hand reached for it, trembling, drawn like a moth to a flame. The glass was cold, the liquid warm, and as I held it, the pain in my chest eased, just for a moment. Outside, headlights flashed again, closer now, a low rumble shaking the windows. I set the vial down, my fingers sticky with blood, hers, mine. I couldn't tell anymore. The door was still locked, but that didn't matter. The road didn't need an invitation. It was already inside me, and whatever was coming next would find me, just like the others had. The girl's body twitched on the floor, her eyes still locked on mine, and in the distance, Route 66 hummed louder, hungry for more. The girl's body lay crumpled on the linoleum, her blood pooling in a dark, reflective sheen that seemed to drink in the fluorescent light. Her eyes, still open, gleamed with a wet malice, like they were waiting for me to blink first. The bone she'd dropped sat at my feet, its faint hum vibrating through my boots, syncing with the black veins crawling under my skin. The scratches on my chest were worse now, the skin around them splitting wider, exposing muscle that twitched with a life of its own. The black ooze seeped steadily, dripping down my ribs, and every pulse felt like the road itself was pumping through me. The vial on the counter glowed brighter, its liquid swirling with an unnatural rhythm, like a heartbeat trapped in glass. I wanted to crush it, to shatter it and end whatever game Route 66 was playing, but my hands wouldn't obey. Instead, they hovered near it, trembling, drawn to its warmth like a junkie to a fix. The station was suffocating now, the air thick with the stench of blood, decay, and that electric tang of ozone. Outside, the rumble of approaching headlights grew louder, the ground trembling as if the road was flexing its muscles. I stumbled to the door, double-checking the lock, though I knew it was useless. The bell hadn't rung for the girl, and it wouldn't for whatever was coming next. The pickup truck at Pump 3 still sat there, its rusted frame a silent witness to the night's horrors. I could still see the trail of flesh I'd dragged to the dumpster, glistening faintly in the moonlight, like the road was marking its territory. The headlights were closer now, slicing through the dark, and a low, guttural hum filled the air. Not an engine, but something deeper, like the earth itself was groaning. A shape emerged from the night, a semi-truck, its cab dented and streaked with what looked like claw marks. It rolled to a stop across two pumps, engine idling with a wet, choking sound, like it was drowning in its own oil. The driver's door creaked open and my stomach dropped as a figure stepped out. He was big, broad-shouldered, wearing a stained leather jacket and a trucker's cap pulled low. At first he looked almost normal, like the kind of guy who'd come in for a coffee and a pack of Reds. But as he approached, his shadow stretched too long, twisting on the pavement like it was alive. His boots crunched on the gravel, and each step left behind a smear of something dark and viscous, like the black ooze leaking from my chest. The door didn't jingle when he pushed through. It just swung open, silent, as if the station was welcoming him. Up close, his face was a ruin, skin pockmarked and sagging, like it had been burned and stretched over a frame too small. His eyes were milky, clouded over, but they locked onto me with a focus that made my skin crawl. His mouth opened, and his voice rasped like sandpaper on bone. "You got it, don't you? The vial." I glanced at the counter, the glowing liquid pulsing faster now as if it knew he was here. "I don't know what you're talking about," I lied, my voice cracking. The bat was too far and my chest burned, the black veins throbbing in time with the vial's glow. He stepped closer and I saw his hands, fingers swollen and split, the skin peeling back to reveal bone that wasn't bone, but something jagged and metallic, glinting under the lights. "Don't play dumb," he said, his breath hot and rancid like roadkill left in the sun. "The road's been talking about you, says you're ready." "Ready for what?" I backed up, hitting the counter. The vial was right behind me, its heat radiating through my shirt. He grinned and his teeth were wrong, jagged, uneven, like they'd been filed down and replaced with shards of glass. "To join us, to feed it." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a knife, its blade rusted but sharp, crusted with dried blood and flecks of something that looked like skin. "You've been marked, just like the others." I thought of the girl, her bleeding feet and crowded teeth, the man with the peeling skin and writhing tendrils, the faceless thing with its glowing veins. All of them tied to this highway, all of them changed. My hand brushed the vial, and for a split second the pain in my chest eased like a promise. I jerked my hand away, horrified, but the trucker saw it. His grin widened, splitting his lips until blood dribbled down his chin. "You feel it," he said, stepping closer. "The road's in you now, it's hungry, and you're the meal." I grabbed the vial, not to drink it, but to throw it, to smash it against his face. But as my fingers closed around the glass, a jolt ran through me, like electricity coursing through my veins. The black ooze in my chest surged and I gasped, dropping to my knees. The vial stayed in my hand, burning hot now, the liquid inside screaming with a sound I couldn't hear but felt in my bones. The trucker loomed over me, his knife gleaming, and I saw his shadow shift again, stretching into something not human, limbs too long, too many, curling like smoke. I scrambled back, knocking over a rack of chips, the crunch of plastic bags deafening in the silence. He lunged, knife slicing through the air, and I rolled, the blade grazing my arm. Blood welled up, mixing with the black ooze, and the pain was blinding, like my body was tearing itself apart. I kicked out, catching his leg, and he stumbled, his knee buckling with a wet snap. Something spilled from the wound. Not blood, but a swarm of tiny glistening things like beetles made of oil, skittering across the floor toward me. I screamed, crawling backward, the vial still clutched in my hand. The beetles swarmed up my legs, their tiny legs burning like acid, burrowing into my skin. I swatted at them, but they kept coming, their bodies dissolving into my flesh, joining the black veins already spreading. The trucker laughed, a deep guttural sound that shook the walls, and his face began to split, skin peeling away to reveal muscle and bone woven with those same metallic shards. "You can't run," he said, his voice echoing like it came from the road itself. "The vial's yours, drink it or it'll take you slow." I threw the vial at him hard and it shattered against his chest, the liquid splashing across his jacket. It hissed, burning through the leather, and he roared. A sound that wasn't human, more like a machine breaking apart. The liquid ate into him, his skin bubbling and melting, revealing more of that metallic skeleton underneath. But he didn't fall. He staggered forward, knife raised, and I grabbed the bat, swinging with everything I had. The bat hit his arm and it crumpled, the knife clattering to the floor. But the beetles were still on me, burrowing deeper, and my chest was on fire, the black veins now curling around my heart. I could feel it slowing, sinking with the road's pulse. The trucker lunged again, his ruined face inches from mine, and I swung the bat one last time, smashing it into his skull. His head caved in, spraying blood and metal shards, and he collapsed, his body twitching as the liquid from the vial devoured what was left. I fell back, gasping, the beetles still crawling under my skin. The station was a wreck, blood, broken glass, and crushed snacks everywhere. The vial's liquid had spilled across the counter, eating through the wood, and the air hummed with that same low groan from the road. Outside, more headlights flickered, closer now, and I knew the night wasn't done. The road was still hungry and I was running out of time. The station was a slaughterhouse. Blood and black ooze smeared the linoleum, mixing with crushed chips and shards of glass from the shattered vial. The trucker's body lay in a heap, his skull caved in, metallic bones glinting through melted flesh. The beetles, or whatever those oily, burrowing things were, had stopped crawling under my skin, but I could still feel them, squirming inside, nesting in the black veins that now laced my chest and throat. The scratches burned, not with pain anymore, but with a strange, pulsing heat, like the road was whispering through me, urging me to move, to act, to feed. I pushed the thought down, but it lingered, heavy as the air in the station, thick with the stench of death and that electric ozone hum. I clutched the bat, my hands slick with sweat and blood, and stumbled to the sink to wash off the mess. The water ran red, then black, swirling down the drain like it was being sucked into the earth. My reflection in the cracked mirror was barely recognizable. Eyes sunken, skin gray, the black veins now climbing past my collarbone, curling toward my jaw. I tore my shirt open, and the sight made my stomach lurch. The scratches had become gaping wounds, the skin around them peeling back in ragged flaps, exposing muscle that pulsed with dark, writhing shapes. Something moved inside. Not just the beetles, but something bigger, like a hand pressing against the inside of my ribs. I gagged, dropping the bat, and leaned over the sink, retching. Nothing came up but a string of black sludge, thick and warm, that clung to my lips and chin. It tasted like gasoline and rot, and as it hit the sink, it hissed, eating into the porcelain. I wiped my mouth, shaking, and turned away from the mirror. I couldn't look anymore. The road was changing me, just like it had changed the others. The man with the peeling skin, the girl with her bleeding feet, the trucker with his metal bones. Route 66 was alive, and it was carving me into something new. The hum outside grew louder, a deep vibration that rattled the windows and shook the loose change on the counter. Headlights pierced the darkness, not one set but three, maybe four, converging on the station like moths to a flame. I grabbed the bat again, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst through the black veins. The door was still locked, but that didn't matter. They never needed an invitation. The first vehicle, a rusted station wagon, pulled up to pump 2, its engine coughing like a dying animal. The second was a motorcycle, its rider hidden behind a cracked helmet, the visor reflecting the station's lights like a blank black eye. The third was a camper van, its sides painted with faded flowers, windows dark and curtained. They all stopped at once, engines cutting off in unison, leaving a silence so heavy it pressed against my eardrums. I backed away from the door, bat raised, my chest throbbing with that alien pulse. The station wagon's door creaked open first, and out stepped an old woman, her back hunched, her hair a tangled white nest. She wore a floral dress, stained and torn, and her hands clutched a cane that looked carved from bone. Her face was a map of wrinkles, but her eyes were sharp, glinting like polished glass, and her smile stretched too wide, showing gums that bled with every step she took. The motorcycle rider dismounted next, pulling off the helmet to reveal a face that wasn't a face, just a mass of scar tissue, puckered and red, with no eyes, no nose, only a slit for a mouth that twitched like it was trying to speak. The camper van's door slid open last, and a man stepped out, tall and thin, his skin so pale it was almost translucent, veins glowing faintly beneath like the faceless thing from earlier. He carried a bundle wrapped in a blanket, and as he moved, the blanket shifted, revealing a glimpse of something small and writhing, like a baby but wrong, its limbs too long, its head too round. They didn't speak, didn't need to. They moved toward the station in a slow, deliberate line, their shadows stretching and twisting on the pavement, merging into a single, shapeless mass. The door didn't jingle when they pushed through. It just opened, like the station was eager to let them in. The air turned colder, heavier, and the hum of the road pulsed through me, stronger now, urging me to drop the bat, to give in. "You're late," the old woman said, her voice like dry leaves scraping together. She leaned on her cane, and I saw it wasn't bone but a spine, vertebrae stacked and fused, still wet with blood. "The road's been waiting." I gripped the bat tighter, my knuckles white. "Stay back," I said, but my voice was weak, drowned out by the pulse in my chest. The black veins were moving faster now, spreading down my arms, and I could feel them tightening, like wires pulling my muscles taut. The scar-faced rider tilted their head, the slit of their mouth opening to reveal a tongue that was too long, forked, flicking out to taste the air. "You drank it," they hissed, voice like steam escaping a pipe. "The vial, it's in you." "I didn't drink anything," I snapped, but my hand went to my chest where the black sludge was leaking again, dripping onto the floor. The vial had shattered, but the liquid, some of it must have gotten on me, into me, when I threw it. The realization hit like a punch, and I staggered, the bat slipping in my grip. The pale man stepped forward, the bundle in his arms squirming harder now, a low, keening wail coming from it. "You're almost ready," he said, his voice soft but heavy, like it carried the weight of the desert itself. He unwrapped the blanket, and I saw it, a thing that wasn't a baby, its skin gray and slick, eyes bulging like a fish, mouth full of needle-like teeth. It reached for me, its tiny hands splitting open to reveal claws that glistened with the same black ooze. I swung the bat, aiming for the pale man's head, but he moved too fast, stepping aside as the bat smashed into the counter, splintering the wood. The old woman laughed, a dry, rattling sound, and the scar-faced rider lunged, their tongue lashing out, wrapping around my wrist. It burned, the skin blistering where it touched, and I screamed, dropping the bat. The thing in the blanket wailed louder, its claws slashing the air, and I felt the black veins in my chest surge, pulling me toward it like a magnet. I tore free, the rider's tongue ripping apart with a wet snap, spraying black blood across my face. It burned my eyes, my mouth, and I tasted it again. Gasoline, rot, and something alive. I stumbled to the back of the station toward the storage room, desperate for a place to hide, to think. The three followed, slow and deliberate, their shadows growing longer, merging with the darkness outside. The storage room was cramped, shelves packed with expired snacks and cleaning supplies. I slammed the door shut, shoving a crate against it, but the hum of the road was louder here, vibrating through the walls, through my bones. The black veins were spreading faster, curling around my heart, and I could feel it slowing, matching the rhythm of the highway. The thing inside me, the thing the road had planted, was waking up. Outside, the door rattled, and the old woman's voice came through, sharp and gleeful. "You can't hide from the road," she said. "It's already home." The headlights outside multiplied, more vehicles pulling into the lot, their engines a chorus of hunger. I sank to the floor, the black ooze pooling around me, and realized I wasn't just trapped in the station. I was trapped in the road itself, and it wasn't letting go. The storage room was a cage, its walls closing in as the hum of Route 66 pulsed through the concrete, through my veins, through the black ooze seeping from my chest. The air was thick with the stench of mildew and motor oil, but it couldn't mask the rot clinging to me, the sickly sweet decay of the black veins now wrapping my heart like barbed wire. The thing inside me, the thing the road had planted, was alive, clawing at the inside of my ribs, each movement a sharp, tearing pain that made my vision blur. The crate I'd shoved against the door rattled, the wood splintering as something heavy slammed against it from the other side. The old woman's voice slithered through the cracks, dry and mocking. "You can't keep it waiting." I pressed myself against the back wall, my hands slick with sweat and sludge, searching for anything to fight with. The bat was gone, lost in the chaos outside, and the shelves offered nothing but dusty cans of motor oil and a rusted tire iron. I grabbed the tire iron, its weight cold and grounding, but my arms trembled, the black veins tightening like they were trying to puppet my body. My reflection in a cracked bottle caught my eye. My face was unrecognizable, the skin around my jaw splitting, black tendrils curling out like roots through dirt. My eyes were clouding over, milky and wrong, like the trucker's had been. The door buckled, wood cracking as the pale man's voice joined the old woman's, soft and heavy. "It's time. The road's ready for you." The thing in his arms, that writhing, gray-skinned creature, wailed, a high-pitched screech that drilled into my skull, sinking with the pulse in my chest. The scar-faced rider's tongue slapped against the door, wet and searching, its acid burn hissing as it ate through the wood. I swung the tire iron at the door, not to fight but to keep them out, to buy time I didn't have. The metal hit with a dull clang, but the door gave way, bursting inward in a shower of splinters. The old woman stepped through first, her bone cane tapping the floor, her bleeding gums stretched into a grin. Behind her, the pale man held the creature, its needle teeth snapping, claws dripping with black ooze. The scar-faced rider slunk in last, their tongue flicking out, tasting the air, their featureless face tilting toward me like a predator locking onto prey. "You're beautiful," the old woman said, her glass-sharp eyes gleaming. "The roads made you perfect." I swung the tire iron, aiming for her head, but she moved too fast, her body jerking like a puppet on strings. The iron grazed her shoulder, tearing her dress, and what spilled out wasn't blood but a swarm of tiny, glistening spiders, their bodies slick with the same black sludge. They skittered across the floor, up my legs, their legs pricking like needles, burrowing into the wounds on my chest. I screamed, swatting at them, but they melted into me, joining the thing already writhing inside. The pale man stepped closer, the creature in his arms lunging, its claws raking across my arm. The pain was white-hot, and blood mixed with black ooze sprayed across the shelves, knocking over cans that burst open, spilling oil that shimmered like the road outside. The creature's eyes locked onto mine, bulging and wet, and for a moment I saw myself in them. Not my reflection, but me. My body peeled open, my insides replaced with twisting black roots, my mouth screaming without sound. "Drink it," the scar-faced rider hissed, their tongue wrapping around my wrist, burning through my skin. "The road wants you whole." "There's nothing left to drink," I shouted, yanking free, the tire iron slipping from my hand. The vial was gone, shattered, its liquid already inside me, poisoning me from the moment it splashed across my skin. I could feel it now, coursing through the black veins, turning my blood to sludge, my heart to a drumbeat for the highway's hunger. The old woman laughed, her spine cane snapping as she drove it into the floor. The concrete cracked, and from the fissures, more black ooze bubbled up, pooling around my feet, warm and alive. It climbed my legs, thick and sticky, pulling me down like quicksand. I clawed at the shelves, but they buckled, collapsing in a cascade of cans and glass. The pale man loomed over me, the creature in his arms now crawling free, its gray body slithering across the floor, leaving a trail of slime that smelled like burnt flesh. I kicked at it, my foot connecting with its head, but it didn't stop. Its teeth sank into my ankle, tearing through muscle, and I felt the black veins surge, spreading faster, wrapping my lungs until every breath was a struggle. The scar-faced rider grabbed my face, their tongue forcing its way into my mouth, burning my throat as it pushed deeper, filling me with that same gasoline-rot taste. I bit down, hard, and the tongue tore free, spraying black blood that burned my eyes, but the rider didn't flinch, just pressed closer, their scar tissue face splitting open to reveal a maw of jagged teeth. I was drowning in it. The ooze, the pain, the road's pulse. My body wasn't mine anymore. The black veins were everywhere, crawling up my neck, into my skull, behind my eyes. I could see the road now, not just outside, but inside me. A vast, endless stretch of asphalt, shimmering with heat, lined with bodies that weren't bodies anymore but husks. Their skin peeled back, their insides woven with black roots. They were screaming, all of them, and I was one of them. The old woman knelt beside me, her bloody gums inches from my face. "You're home," she whispered, and her cane pierced my chest, right where the scratches had started. The pain was beyond anything I'd felt, like my soul was being ripped out, but it wasn't just pain. It was release. The thing inside me burst free, a mass of black tendrils and claws tearing through my chest, my ribs cracking like dry wood. It wasn't me anymore, but it was, and it was the road, and it was hungry. I don't know how long I lay there, my body broken, the station a ruin around me. The old woman, the pale man, the scar-faced rider, they were gone, their shadows fading into the walls, into the road. The creature was gone too, or maybe it was part of me now, crawling through the black veins that had replaced my blood. The headlights outside were dimmer, retreating, but the hum of Route 66 never stopped. It was louder now inside me, a song I couldn't escape. I dragged myself to my feet, my body moving on its own like the road was pulling the strings. The station was silent, the blood and ooze soaking into the floor, leaving no trace of the carnage. The pickup truck at Pump 3 was gone, the dumpster empty, the trail of flesh erased. I stumbled to the counter, my hands leaving black smears on everything I touched. My reflection in the security mirror was gone, just a blur, a shadow with no face. The bell jingled and I turned, expecting another nightmare. But it was just a trucker, normal, human, asking for a pack of smokes. I rang him up, my hands moving automatically, my voice steady despite the thing writhing in my chest. He didn't notice the black veins, the way my skin split at the edges, the way the station hummed with the road's pulse. He left, and I was alone again. But not really. The road was with me, inside me, and I knew it would never let go. More headlights flickered in the distance, closer now, and I felt the hunger stir. Not mine, but the road's, pulling me toward the door. I was part of it now, just like the others, and the next customer wouldn't be normal either. The road was still hungry, and so was I. That's all for today. Hope you can still sleep tonight. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for next story.